Yay!
We're here.
Hello, beautiful friends. I'm Katya. This is Fernanda, my longtime dear friend. We are regular mamas. We have thriving Healy businesses. Our lives have been changed both by Healy the device and Healy the business. And we're hoping that this series will be the perfect quick overview to get you acquainted with your Healy and on your way to creating whatever magic you're meant to create with it. This is video one. Hopefully you have your Healy with you. Wristbands, coil, we're going to go through all of that good stuff. This is meant to be a quick start unboxing video, which is perfect to watch as your Healy arrives. Fernanda, do you want to walk us through the basics
Yes,
of bringing the
of
Healy to
course. When you get your Healy, the very first thing you're going to want to do is charge it and assure yourself that you have a good charger for it and charge it fully all the way. And one of the things that you're going to want to do with your Healy is once it's charged, you're going to want to use it until the Healy indicates that it needs charge again. And you'll know because essentially you see this little blinking green light. Well, you probably can't see it, but the light is blinking fully right now, which means a program is running. When you go to run your Healy and the light blinks maybe 6 times and stops, it means there's no more power in your Healy and it needs to be recharged. So you'll go ahead and charge it up again fully and then use it again all the way until it dies out. And another way to know that your Healy is out of battery is on the screen on your app. But there's going to be a little indicator there that says the percentage of charge. Most Healys run till about 40%. It will never get to 0%. So know that it'll go to maybe 30%, 40%. But really, when you go to start a program again and the light flashes like that 6 times and stops, you know it needs full charge again. Another thing to know too is that there's going to be a little Bluetooth light that blinks on your Healy when it's running. And if you walk away from your phone 30 feet, that Bluetooth will disconnect. So just know that, because when you go back to your phone and you see that it's disconnected, oftentimes people are like, oh, my Healy's not working. But that's not the case. If the green light is still flashing, the Healy is running a program. It just is no longer connected to the app because you've walked away 30 feet, so the Bluetooth turned off. And another way to turn your Bluetooth off on your own is to go into the app and turn it off from there. So you'll see this little indicator for the Bluetooth and you can just click on it and it'll prompt you to disconnect the Bluetooth there.
One of the biggest questions people usually ask about the Bluetooth is it okay to disconnect? So I've had that experience myself all the time where I walk away and I'm like, oh my gosh, is it running? So I will go to the phone to check. But also many people intentionally want to turn the Bluetooth off.
Yeah, it's 100% okay to turn the Bluetooth off. So long as that green light is flashing, it means that a program is being transmitted to you. So know that, you can go back into the app if you like and connect back in to see how much time you have left on a program or anything like that. But you do have to log back in. So if you walk away, or if you choose to walk away by 30 feet or more, or log out of the Bluetooth on your own, the program is still running. And another little fun trick too is that if you want to run programs back to back, like if you're using the Coil, and we'll get to that, but if you do want to run programs back to back and your program has stopped, meaning that the green light is no longer flashing, you can press the center button again and that same program will start over. And another little thing that I also want to add.
Know that.
Yeah, it's a fun little hack. But you sometimes have to go in just to assure that the voltage is correct. If you're getting, if you want it to be at 100% when you're running the Coil, you just might want to go check to make sure it is. And another important thing for when you first get your Healy, don't leave it in your car. I remember learning this about my drum too. Like, do not leave your drum in a car. Same thing. Do not leave your Healy in a car. The max is 40 C, and you don't want it to get too cold either. The Healy has a threshold. We need to be really careful about that. So, room temperature. right?
Perfect. I just want to say about disconnecting the Bluetooth. I really love doing that for running sleep programs. Obviously, most of us want to put our phone on airplane mode. So that's okay. I love having a program running for that hour in the deep cycle or the coherence or a coherence boost. And you can turn off your phone knowing that the program is running. It's usually somewhere close to my heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
I usually turn the Bluetooth off, and I just know that my Healy is running a program. Some people like to know how much longer, how much is left, but you kind of look at the program at the beginning and it'll say 90 minutes, and then you look at the clock and you gauge from there, so you don't necessarily need the app at all after you start the program. So you can disconnect from the Bluetooth with ease.
Because once it's transmitted, the program will live on your Healy and you no longer need your smartphone device.
Exactly. And that exact program, that you'll see a little thing that says transmitting program. Once that program is transmitted, that's the program that lives on your Healy until you change it again. So that's why pressing that little green button starts that green light back up again. And that means that program is running again. So it's a pretty nice little trick.
We're about to get into the differences between the Coil and the wristbands. This is fascinating information. Hopefully, as you're watching this, you've got either your Coil or the wristband. The wristbands come with the Healy. The Coil, I have mine in right now. I have found it to be an absolute game changer. And we'll tell you exactly what the differences are as we understand them. Before we get into it, a super quick disclaimer. This is not medical advice. Frequency therapies are not new. This is obviously such an exciting new frontier as we get to hold this device in our hands and have our own experience with it. Everyone's experience is going to be different. And if you still have questions after watching this introductory training, please know there are all kinds of more in-depth training and support available. Good. We've got that out of the way. Now, Coil versus wristbands. The microcurrent going through the wristband, so maybe you can play with yours as you're watching and put them on. It is very powerful. It's getting into a little bit of science here for raising ATP production, which is essentially the energy of or voltage of the cell. So knowing that, we want to make sure that we are hydrated, we drink plenty of water. And some people even like to put some water or saliva on the inside of your wrist before you really strap yourself in. Fernanda, you taught me that trick. I remember you.
I know, it's like giving yourself a little kiss.
Lick the inside of your wrist. So whether you want to do that or not is completely up to you. Play around with that. But when I first got my Healy, I must confess, I did not want to use it as much because I found the wristbands to be really cumbersome, like a bit annoying, because I was on my computer a lot. And then if I wanted to run a program while I was driving, I felt like the wires were, getting caught in the steering wheel. And so I really felt like the Coil was an absolute game changer. If you don't have one yet, this is what it looks like. And it plugs right into your Healy. However, now that I know more science behind how the microcurrent technology works through the wristbands, I have a whole new respect and appreciation for the wristbands and have been switching it up. Yeah. What about you, Fernanda?
Well, I want to show real quick. I have my bracelets right here. I just want to show you the best way to put them on. So you want to make sure that the bracelets, some people put them back over here, but I like to have them on the inside of my wrists like this and connected to the Healy. And yeah, like Katya said, a little lick or a little squirts of water, or even just like dip your fingers in a cup and, wet your wrists. What that's doing is essentially it's allowing the microcurrent to travel into the water body, the plasma body that is you. And somebody said this one time, that we are electric beings suspended in water. I love that. Isn't that beautiful? We are electric beings suspended in water, and we want that microcurrent to travel through the water. That's why we put a little bit of water here into our bodies. And for that reason, the microcurrent is really, really powerful to aid the physical body. Whereas the coil works in a much more subtle way. It's sending scalar field waves. This is a Tesla coil. It's Tesla technology. It's really, really awesome. And the scalar field waves are emitting a toral field that expands around 3 feet. So let's say if I place my Healy right here, 3 feet out from me, so my children could be receiving it. Anybody within 3 feet is receiving the frequencies that are emitted. And these frequencies, the frequencies emitted through the Tesla coil, are a lot more subtle and are said to affect more of the emotional body, like the inner wellness, as opposed to the physical wellness. Mm-hmm. I have found that, of course, everything's related. So if you're working on the emotional body, it's also aiding the physical body. But when I have more physical symptoms, like if I'm having a cold, I will be using the wrist bracelets a lot more. And if I am just really wanting to work on, some more personal issues that I'm having, I will use the coil. And I tend to use the coil in general more often because it's just easier. And, you can just clip it on your shirt and you're good to go. Whereas the bracelets take a little bit more time. And I tend to do them more in the mornings or in the evenings when I'm resting. And let's see here. Also, things about, like, for example, one thing that I think is really powerful to note about the difference in these two forms of taking frequency in is that whether you're just beginning or whether you've been using it for a while, if you notice that you're having like detox symptoms, it means you're using the frequency too much. This is not meant to be used every single, like with the wrist bracelet, the coil is very subtle. So you can use this all day, every day at 100% voltage and you'll be okay because it's very subtle. But the wrist bracelets are meant to be used no more than 3 times a day, even for people that have had a Healy for a while. And they recommend 30% voltage charge. If you're using it higher than that, I wouldn't. I don't. I stick to 30, max 40%. And I've been using the Healy for a while. And I would also suggest no more than those 3 times a day. And if you're using it more than that, and you're starting to feel anger, rage, if you're starting to feel some sort of detox symptoms, which is common, this is common, it means you need to stop and let your body recalibrate. And when you do recalibrate, you'll notice that you come back feeling way better. So there is that to note. I know you had Lacey, something happened with Lacey, right, Katya?
Yes, so interesting. Lacey opened her Healy. The first program that she ran was Relax. And she was joking to her husband that she's been running around and working so hard. And she was saying, the minute I relax, I'm probably going to get sick. And she had even forgotten that she said that. She was running the gold programs, which are recommended when you first begin your journey with Healy. And she said within literally minutes, she started feeling symptoms of a cold coming on. Oh, wow. Immediately. And so this really can happen when we slow down. If there's something that's meant to take you out so that you can experience a healing response, it can happen, absolutely. As my beloved Ayurveda teacher, Maya Tiwari, once said, if you don't take pause will take you. So we can experience these kinds of detox systems. More on that a little bit later. Fernanda and I have some really good stories for you. So just to recap, the percentage that you're going to turn up your Healy program to on your smartphone for the coil needs to be 100%. And for the wristbands, Fernanda, many of us recommend 30%. It can be even lower. Jessica Hetzer, I know, felt that even at 10%, she really was feeling it. And it felt a bit much if she turned it up in the beginning to anything more than that. I have had it running at 50% in the beginning when I didn't know better, I did have it running at 100%. You know me, I'm like, frequency?
Damn it.
And it was intense. I remember needing to ground. I remember it was raining and I was like, I just need to put my bare feet into the mud. I just had this intuitive response to ground myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know, one other thing that I'll add too is that the Healy will tell you if the percentage is too low. When you're running both the coil and the bracelets, it'll tell you when the percentage is too low. If you're at 100% with the coil, it's not going to tell you that. But if you're at like 20% with the coil, it might indicate that you need to increase. It might say there's not sufficient charge. It's not telling. That doesn't mean that it needs to be charged. It just means that there's not a sufficient amount of connectivity between you and the Healy. So you're going to want to raise that higher. But with the bracelets, if you have it at 10% and you're kind of afraid to go up a little bit higher, which is fine at the beginning, just because, listen to your body. But it will tell you on the screen that there's not sufficient something or other. I forget the exact wording, but you'll see in the original Healy app, there's a circle that travels around, and that circle needs to be a white line if there's connectivity. If there's not connectivity, it means it's a black line. If you're under 30%, it's going to be a black line, but that doesn't mean that you're not getting microcurrent at all. You're getting something, you're getting enough. So it's okay. And in the newer app, there's this little wave that's moving. And if the wave is moving, that means that there's connectivity. If it's not moving and halted, that means that there's not connectivity. Again, same thing. 30% should put you to where it's moving, where the wave is moving and the circle is white. But if it's not, and you needed to keep it low for whatever reasons, just as you get your bearings with using this, and you're upping your percentage every day a little bit to get to that 30% charge where there is connectivity, you're okay. So just know that.
Perfect. I really loved an analogy given by Derek Nakamura, who is a frequency time waiver Healy practitioner, genius. There is a class by him in the Boards app if you want to go deeper. But the analogy was that if you're using the wristbands, it's like getting a shot, whereas using the coil is like rubbing a cream on your skin. Different, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Also important to mention that there are sticky pads that will be included in your box. I've never used mine. But I know that these are basically for local applications for pain. I've also heard people having really extraordinary success with using the sticky pads on the spine. I don't know enough to dive deeper into that, but just know that that's what those are for. And so if you want to use them, I'm sure as your journey with Healy unfolds, you'll figure out when those would be appropriate. In some countries, because Healy is country specific and there are very, different laws, once a country can be a distributor of Healy. So sometimes you'll get the earlobe ones. We don't have those, right? In Canada,
No.
North America, we don't. So, but I think Europe, there are earlobes.
Europe does.
Okay.
Europe has the stickies. Europe has the earlobes. But in terms of the stickies, those are amazing for pain. They're great for pain programs. And the one thing that you should just know is that when you put them on your body, you want them to be parallel to each other. You don't want to put one down here and another one up here. You want them to kind of be close to each other in range and somewhat parallel. Yeah. So that's just the one thing to know. I've had fantastic things happen when I've used those pain programs. But if you find that they're not working, actually, Freya and some of the gals and Amber have discovered that the connective tissues program is amazing. So you're going to want to try that for sure.
Okay.
If for some reason the pain programs are not doing it for you, try connective tissues and see what happens.
Okay, great. And so if the earlobe ones is something that you do have in your box, my understanding is those are great for acute relief.
I wish we had those.
Okay, I think we've covered it all in terms of wristbands and coil. Okay, so a few closing notes in this video on what to expect. As we've shared before, your experience will be different from anyone else's. So please go slow. You might feel amazing right away. For many people, there's an adjustment period. And I think of it kind of like when you go for a really good lymphatic massage and you're told to drink lots of water, and you know that stagnancy in your body, in your system, moves through your tissues, through your energetic body differently. It's kind of like that. Mm-hmm. You may feel that the microcurrent, like you're feeling it on a physical level, or you might not feel it at all. In fact, anything under 1,000 hertz, you can think of as dense and physical, and anything higher, you are less likely to feel it. With the coil as well, you're much less likely to feel it, which is a good thing because microcurrent is meant to run in the background and in the subconscious.
Yeah, it's important. Actually, I can't remember exactly which time waver practitioner says this, but if you're feeling the current going into your body, like if you can feel the pulsation, ding, 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 going in, you're going to want to turn the percentage down a little bit. And the reason for it is because it's the same reason that women get nausea when they're pregnant. It's where we tend to want to throw out and repel something that's foreign that's coming into our system. And so subconsciously, when we know and feel something coming in, our body is not going to receive it as well. So we want to be as receptive as possible to this medicine. So just turn it down a little bit. And also a fun little fact, when you are feeling it, if you pay attention, you'll notice that every 10 seconds, the pulsation might start and stop and start and stop every 10 seconds. And the reason for that is that every 10 seconds on a binary, there's the quantum sensor that is assessing whether the next frequency in line is going to be good for you or not. And so that's why every 10 seconds, the frequency is shifting. You'll see the numbers change on the app too every 10 seconds, but it's kind of fun when you are wearing the bracelets and you're feeling a pulse just to play with it for a second, and you'll feel that every 10 seconds it might start or stop. It's just an interesting little thing. But I sometimes play this game where I'm like, oh, I can kind of feel it. Even if I turn it down, I'm like, I can kind of still feel it. And then 10 seconds later it will stop and it might start again. It's just the way that the Healy is designed to, on a binary, ask your body and get that biofeedback whether or not the next frequency in line is good for you or not. And that's why whether you're running what the pure program that runs on you, for example, in the Healy Gold programs, will be different than the one that runs on Katya or myself, because our body is giving that information to the Healy, and the Healy is sending the specific frequencies that we need.
Perfect. So, we'll go into this deeper in video 3. And lastly, for now, where to wear your Healy? Do you put it in your pocket? Do you wear it on your, like, where to put it? I love to have mine tucked into my shirt as close to my skin as possible. I know the founder, Marcus Schmieke, talks about having it, he wears it on his collar, close to just kind of his heart and the Taurus field. So where do you like to wear yours?
I wear it, honestly, I don't like to wear it up here because it's really visible. So sometimes I'll clip it in this way backwards, and or just right on my pants, like belt buckle area right there.
Yeah. But sometimes I've had it when I'm driving, kind of like visible, so that the passenger also can enjoy.
Also gets it. Yeah, exactly. And then with the bracelets, though, one of the things that I like to do is I'll clip the Healy onto a shirt, and then I'll put a sweater on over it because I'm in the Pacific Northwest. It's cold right now. So I'll put a sweater on over so that the bracelet, the coil, these cables are underneath my sweater so that I can move around a little bit better and not have cables dangling outside of me, if that makes sense.
Perfect trick. I love it. Not quite as helpful here in Costa Rica. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's go on to video 2. We'll see you there, and we'll talk about which apps to download on your phone.